Welcome back, Trap Talk listeners. I'm your host, Zach Nannini, and I'm here with my co-host, Richard Marshall Jr., and our good friend from Nebraska, Jason Krause, not Lincoln, or Aurora, Nebraska. But welcome to the show, everyone.
Thank you.
Rick, would you mind doing the honors of introducing Jason, since you've known each other so long, and he's from your red state, the Red Army of all the good shooters that come from Nebraska. Give him a resounding announcement for the folks that don't know Jason, even though they should.
Yeah, absolutely. So Krause, Aurora, Nebraska. He's been shooting since 1998, so 27 years now, going on 28 years, and won multiple state championships. He's won the singles. I know a loner 2 years ago with a lone 200 straight in the singles. He's won the handicap twice and the all-around. Multiple 200s, around 20-ish. 200s in the handicap. And then 13 100s in doubles so far. But the biggest of all is he is the 2025 Clay Target champion with a 200. And we'll get into that a little bit, but it was his first 200 in the Clay Target.
Welcome to Season 3 of Trap Talk.
Brought to you by Craigoff, the choice of champions.
All right, folks, we got to take a quick second and give a huge shout out to our title sponsor, Craigoff. Me and Ricky both shoot them. We both love them.
Yeah, best gun in the industry. I shoot them. I sell them. Nothing better, folks. Get yourself a Craigoff. Your scores will increase.
Yeah, I mean, Ricky's got hundreds and hundreds of hundreds with his. I mean, I've got a few hundreds, but I'm always working to get a little bit better, and they definitely help me, that's for sure. So on top of that, we also got to thank Winning. I'm wearing the shirt today. Love this shirt. If you're down at the Grand, pick one up.
Yeah, Winning, like I said, Zach, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds with my Winning stock. You know, get a hold of Bobby, Luke, Bill, get an appointment set up. They will make you a better shooter with that Winning stock.
Of course, yeah, the Grand's the great place to do it. Give them a call, get on their book. It's worth your time.
Just remember, winners shoot winnings.
With that being said,
let's get back to the show. So, and then he ends up winning it. But Jason's also a 3-time All-American team member, open team, 1 second team, and then 2 first teams, right, Jason?
Yep, correct.
Okay. So Jason shoots a lot, has shot a lot over the years. He took a few hiatuses there. You know, he owns his own truck, so he's another truck driver from Nebraska, just like Justin Debris, except for Jason drives a little bit more than Justin. I know Justin's going to get mad we said that, and he'll try to get in his truck and drive, but it's okay. So welcome to the show, Jason.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So Jason, I know we're going to get a lot into the technical today because you've shot a lot and you have a lot to give the listeners. But before we go technical, we want to know a little bit about you. So, why did you start trap shooting? And kind of walk us through your life, because I've looked at your years. Like Ricky said, 1998 is when you started, and it hasn't been consistent between now and then. It's been kind of little hits here where you go on a little run for 3 or 4 years and then it goes away, and then you go on a little run for 3 or 4 years and then it goes away. So walk us through kind of life and how you keep coming back to the sport, because I know sometimes right now we have people that leave and then they don't come back. So what's your experience been with that?
Well, it started when I was 15. They started the Central Nebraska Conference, the high school shooting here in Aurora at Crooked Creek. And so got started into that, shot a couple years through there, got into registered that second year, started in 97 and then registered in 98. Got hooked right away, started in hot and heavy all the way through high school. Is wherever my mom would take me or I could afford to go, I went and shot. Mostly weekend shoots right around here. Get the state shoot every once in a while. Then, you get into college and new things happen, so you kind of walk away from it for a little bit. Kept shooting on the weekends and some leagues and whatnot, but nothing real competitive, I would say. Did that for a while, and then starting in the workforce, so you're kind of choosing where you can go and what you can do, so that slows things down a little bit. it was about 13, 14, 15, right in there. Decided to branch out a little bit. Ended up going to the Spring Grand in Tucson I believe it was 14.
Yeah, I see 13, 14, 15, and 16. You had over 2,500 singles each year. So it just kind of jumped up where you started going. Because before that, it was like 400 to 1,000.
Yeah. Most of that was just the home club here, a registered shoot on a Sunday, or maybe go to Lincoln or something like that. Otherwise, basically all I shot was leagues and 50 rock trophy shoots. So, and then, like I said, 13, 14, 15 got into a little more, branched out a little bit, wanted to kind of go some places, see what the big shoot stuff was all about. We'd never really done anything like that. You hear about the All-Americans and the satellite grands and the grand and everything, but it wasn't something that we really got into very well. Go to the grand every once in a while. I can't remember the first year I went. I was 16 or 17. There was a couple of us went out with one of his parents and shot just a couple days there at Vandalia. I was at Vandalia 2 or 3 different times. One time was actually to take wads out for downrange. Drove a semi out there. Yeah,
that's
and
cool.
was supposed to rent a car and drive back home, and wasn't old enough to rent a car yet. So I ended up staying, and I shot almost the whole grand that year. Actually shot the whole prelim week with Dusty that year. I kind of got to know him and traveling around and whatnot. So did that for a while, and then life happened again and took a little hiatus for a couple of years. Didn't really shoot much at all. That was for 3 or 4 years there, and then got back into it again, and really decided it was time to either make something of it or just be a league shooter. So bought a little better gun, started practicing a lot more, especially in the wintertime. And as long as it wasn't too cold to stand out there without a big heavy coat on, I tried to go out and shoot and practice a little bit, and actually got met up with Justin and Wyatt there at the conference shooting. Wyatt started shooting and got to know them real well, and they invited me to the Spring Grand one year. So went down and shot that and ended up doing really well. So on the ride home, Justin and Wyatt kind of said, well, you probably ought to just, try going to a few more. And so hit another one, and they all just kind of piggybacked off the last and kept doing better and better. So just kept right on it going.
Now that Spring Grand, Jason, was that COVID Spring Grand area?
It was after COVID. I want to say 22.
Okay.
I think it was 22. 22 or 23.
It was 23 because, Zach, that's when you and I were in Dubai. And
Yes.
we missed the Spring Grand.
Yep.
Yeah, because you
Exactly.
stayed with Justin.
Yes.
Which usually I would stay with him, and he's like, hey, if you're not coming, and then I was sick, and everybody's like, we ought to come down, and I'm like, I'm not coming to Tucson.
No, it was. I'm looking at the scores right now. It was in 2023, and that was the year we were in Dubai. So we were off, having fun and not eating bacon, and then you were over there. You're just pounding targets in Tucson, baby. So it's all good.
Yeah.
Only Zach. Well, Jason, now your home club. Do you consider it Crooked Creek your home club then?
Yep.
None of camps.
Yep.
Yeah,
I tell you,
it's a great club.
Tell me about Crooked Creek, because I've never been there ever, and I've heard a lot of things. I've heard it's actually pretty difficult to shoot. What's it like, and is it an open to the public club, or is it a private club, or?
Yep. Nope. It's open to the public. They've got 5 traps. They have, I think, 5 registered shoots a year. Their big one is in July. Their 2-day handicap. They throw 500 altogether. 200 on Sunday, and there's a Calcutta in between, and they give away leather bags and buckles and whatnot. So it can be difficult to shoot there. I mean, where you've shot it all your whole life, you get used to it. Some people say the background's a little different, a little challenging. Depends on the type of year, whether you got corn in the back or if it's brown dirt or whatnot. In the early spring, I resembled a lot to Tucson, kind of that desert background type. So it can be difficult to pick the targets up in different lighting conditions.
So do you think that shooting at a tough club like that at the beginning, that has tough background, tough lighting conditions, helped evolve you as a shooter for going all around the country? I mean, do you think that there was something to be said about that, or?
A little bit, yeah. So we shot a lot of league and a lot of trophy shoots. So you're shooting in a lot of it's early spring, late fall. We do some winter shoots. So the weather isn't great all the time. Can be really hot or really cold. The wind plays a big factor. So you're shooting targets that are all over the place. They're not completely consistent. And that nothing against, anybody setting them or the club or anything like that. It's just you get to see a lot of different things. And we would even purposely set them differently when we were practicing, so you could kind of get used to higher or lower and whatnot. So I think it helped a bunch, yeah.
It's a great club, Zach. It's the July shoot. I've been out there and shot it a few times and such, but I'm always usually gone. But yeah, the Noonan Camp family, because it's a family-owned club.
It's actually a public-owned club, there's a board
now,
yep.
right? Okay, because
Yep.
originally, I know I've said that before. Sorry, folks, don't stepping on anybody's toes. But I always knew it as Randy's club back in the day when he started it.
Yeah, so it was his father's ground,
Yes.
and he donated it to the club. So
Okay, is that
that's how
okay?
it originated? Yes. Yep.
Okay, so they just kind of they
Yeah.
manage it then, so to speak. I guess is what you'd
It's
say.
actually club owned. Yep.
Okay.
So
All right.
yep.
Yeah, great place though. I know we've been out there. So Zach, it's only what is it, Krause? 20 miles from Donovan, 25 miles.
Yeah, 2025, something like that.
20,
It's not
25,
very
it's not
far.
bad.
Yep.
Yeah, so we've actually during the high school shoot, like taken Tyler and Wyatt and everybody went over there and shot practice during that, so the kids could shoot. And
Yeah, because the
Tyler
high
even
school shoot's
commented
so
on it.
busy that you don't have time. You got all day to wait, right?
Well,
You just go over there and shoot and come back.
All the traps at the high school shoot are full, so you
Yeah.
can't shoot practice.
Yep.
Yeah, that's how many
Yeah.
kids they got. So yeah, you
They-
could go over there, and
They usually
shoot
allow
some-
several of the clubs to come over on Thursday and Friday and shoot practice. Let the kids shoot practice
Yeah.
in the evenings when they figure out what their yardage is going to be.
That's
Yeah,
kinda
exactly.
cool.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's a cool club. So Zach, if you'd ever travel a little bit more and come out to the
I know. I'm
real
such
estate,
a hermit crab. I just stay in my cave all the time and never go anywhere. But
He does, folks. He does.
But Jason, are you part of the illustrious crowd of people that have won the Cornhusker Cup then, or did you never get that great Ricky Marshall honor?
Nope. I never got to that point. We won, I believe, second or third as a team when I was a senior, but I no individual stuff. So.
Based on the amount of smack talk around this treasured trophy, would you trade your grand ring for one of those back in the day, or are you going to stick with the clay target?
I think I'll stick with what I got. Nothing against the Cornhusker Cup. I've got several friends that have won it, but I would take the clay target over that almost any day.
They would all say the same thing, and if they don't, then
They don't know. Yeah, it is what it is.
now
But,
there is. Hey Zach, if you could come to Crooked Creek, there is a what's Justin's parking spot called? The shade tree, or what's that called?
Yeah, I can't remember what we called it. But yeah, he's always under the shade tree.
He's under the
Yep.
shade tree. That's shade tree vendor.
There you
'Cause
go.
He's shady. That's what they said.
You got to have a nice spot to lay your head at night, and you want a little cool breeze for that AC. But Jason, circling back to shooting, I mean, thank you for sharing your story with us and coming up. And it sounds like you spent a lot of time around the small club environment before you jumped on the big circuit, which is what a lot of people do. And I think we need to take a second and recognize and appreciate and remember the small clubs, because the small clubs are the feeders for these big shoots. And I know nowadays, from what I've heard across the country, a lot of these small weekend ATAs are starting to dwindle. And if you have that small dwindling on these small ATA shoots, you don't have the people to show up at the big shoots later, because that's where you learn to have your first competition, is those little 50 bird, 100 bird deals. So in your mind, and I don't know if you've thought about this a lot, and I don't want to put you on the spot, is there anything that you think we could do as an association or as a group of people to help those weekend shoots, or any good ideas that you would have, since you have a lot of experience shooting those shoots? What makes you go to those shoots, and what do you look for?
Well, you're really going to really gain confidence. the big shoots can be intimidating, especially to new shooters, because you might go there thinking, well, certainly All-Americans are here or the big dogs are here, so I don't have a chance. So why travel that far or go to something like that? Well, if you can go to these smaller clubs and get a few wins or shoot some good scores, it gives you confidence to be able to go to one of them bigger shoots and feel like you can compete. So I encourage everybody to shoot as many of the small clubs as they can, just to put yourself up against those people and get better and better, and then go to the big shoots and see what you can do.
I was waiting for you to respond, Rick, but we can always edit out little moments of
Usually,
quiet right there.
usually
Jason,
Zach jumps in there, so I was like, I'm gonna let him have his
I'm
piece.
gonna let Ricky jump in on that. But whenever
let's
we have
go on
moments
that
on little moments of silence, we just edit that out in editing. Jason, so
He
we
just
don't have
makes
to worry.
Slinker's job harder. Is what
We
he
just
does.
make, sorry, John, take an extra %. You got it on recording. It is what it is. But following up with that, Jason, I love the idea of focusing on the little shoots, and I think those little clubs is where you get the confidence, and I think that can't go away, and it helps when you win your first trophy, and it's hard to win your first trophy at a satellite or at a grand sometimes, and just going to that local weekend shoot and getting over those fears and getting over those emotions and getting something out of it, I think is a valuable thing. I just don't know. What I think is there's just probably going to be less of them over time, and not as many as there was, because I remember in California there was one like every single weekend, and they were very, very big. But now the problem becomes, well, if this one throws and then this one throws within 2 or 3 hours, you're drawing some people to this one and some people to that one, and there's just not enough people to spread around. So everybody's really particular about, okay, on this weekend, this is the club that throws the shoot, and vice versa. Just because there's not as many folks as there was when I started, 27 years ago, and you've probably seen that too.
Well, and a lot of it is the price. Shooting used to be a lot cheaper. Shells, a lot of guys reloaded a lot of shells back then, and targets were a little cheaper, whatnot. So I think nowadays people look at more what they can get for what they're going to spend. And that might be, well, instead of going to 4 or 5 little shoots, I'm going to go to 2 big shoots. And you're shooting the same amount of targets, just doing it in a smaller amount of time, maybe taking less time off of work or traveling less to get the same amount into a smaller window. And it hurts the smaller clubs, because you're not going to go to 6 or 8 shoots. You're going to go to 2 or 3 or 4 of the bigger ones. So as far as how to remedy that, I'm really not certain.
Hey, Trap Talk listeners, we got to take a real quick break, and we got to thank Ron Prescott from Mid-State Precious Metals for everything they do for the trap shooting community, coast to coast, for all your gold and silver buying needs. And on top of that, new announcement, they're a sponsor of the 126th Grand American.
Finally, he said it right, folks. Grand American. Yeah, Ron is a great guy. He's a sponsor of the Back Fence Shootout at Nevada State Shoot and Ohio State Shoot. And also, we got our gold for our Trap Talk event at Nevada State Shoot. And the 77th annual Nevada State Shoot, they bought all theirs from him. 680 ounces of silver to be exact, folks. You're missing out if you're not there.
That's a lot of silver, and honestly, if you're not buying from Ron, you're probably overpaying. So whether you're buying it for your gun clubs or your shoots or for your personal use, you got to give them a try, because they're big supporters of the Trap Shooting Nation. So it's awesome. With that being said,
let's get back to the show. All right, folks, we need to take a quick second and get to a new show sponsor, Big Red Motorsports. Big Red, they're personal friends of mine, Jason and George Lee, and they're also a personal sponsor of mine.
now I'll say this. Ricky looked great driving around in that side-by-side. I got some free rides down at Tucson, the Autumn Grand. I think it's awesome that they deliver all across the country, and obviously they love trap shooters, they love trap shooting, and they're doing a great job.
Listen, they got Can-Am, Kawasaki, CF Moto, Triton trailers. Hit them up. We'll take care of you guys. With that being said,
Let's get to the show. All right, Trap Talk listeners, let's take a couple seconds and thank a couple more sponsors. First of all, Remington's been with us since day one. I've been shooting these shells since 2007. I shoot the Nitro 27 from the 27-yard line, ounce and eighth, 7.5, and STS ounce and eighth, eighths for singles and doubles. They've worked great for me, as they do a lot of top shooters all around the country. Give them a try. Don't forget the gun club line when you're practicing and you're wanting to save a little bit of money.
We'd also like to thank another sponsor, Outlaw Engineering. Randy Freston, R2. I've known Randy since 1988. They do engineering, surveying, drafting, GIS, civil, structural, land development, wetland permitting. They do it all.
And they're friends of trap shooters. I mean, they're a trap shooting family. They've been in the ATA forever. His dad's been involved. They're involved. They're a beautiful family. They're great people. And we just love that they listen to the show, and we love that they support Trap Talk.
Yeah, his dad was past president in 1989. So I really want to thank those guys for the support. I really appreciate it here at Trap Talk.
With that being said,
let's get back to the show. Yeah, honestly, I'm like you, Jason. I grew up shooting at the smaller shoots, Lincoln, which you come down and shoot at Lincoln. We used to shoot Valley, I know I seen on your stuff, you shot Holdridge, Kozad, a lot of them shoots. And it's something that I think the clubs want to do stuff, Zach. I just don't think that they have the manpower to and the resources where, look at what we're doing, here coming up the Las Vegas State shoot, which folks, Vegas will be on and over when you hear this, but this shoot's going to be one of the top 5 shoots in the country probably for 2026 target year. And with all the giveaways and that sort of stuff. And I think if some of the smaller clubs could do a little bit more of that, some enticement to get some people to come, you'll get some more, or even some new shooter days, or, come enjoy shooting at half price, or, there's ways to get some, we need to get some more shooters involved. But I like the idea of shooting the smaller clubs because that's where it all starts, supporting them, shooting the leagues. I just got back from, Eau Claire, Wisconsin, teaching up there for a couple days. And I was told, they have like 800 people in a league. And I was like, what? And they're like, oh,
that's
yeah,
awesome.
We have a couple hundred kids in a league, just a kids youth league, and stuff. So it could be done. And they were saying, oh, it takes, the resources, and absolutely, So it's cool to see that. I just wish, we could get every club to do that.
Well, and I think it becomes a volunteering effort, right? Like at the end of the day, if you look at the board at Nevada, you look at John, you look at Greg, you look at the all-stars that are there helping make that shoot grow, and then you've got the people that are surrounding it that are the donation people that say, we want to support this. I think people are willing to help, but they're either willing to help two ways. They're either willing to give you their time or their pocketbook. They're not probably going to give you both. So, you've got your people that are willing to give the time and donate all of that resource of, trying to do the ask. And then there's people that say, hey, I see what you're trying to do. And if you're making it better, I'm okay putting my money there. And I think that there are people okay with writing checks. It just becomes a matter of, is this going to something that's actually going to benefit the sport, or is it just going to, I'm paying for another, janky trophy package or some kind of, crap that isn't necessarily trickling down to the shooter, right? At the end of the day, there's a lot of money flowing, but it needs to be, like what I love, those SOS silver shootouts. Greg told me about them. He's like, hey, I'm donating, the silver to the clubs. The clubs, do the shootout, and the silver goes right to the shooter. So, I think that's a really great example of how to boost things up when people donate the bags, the silver, the gun raffle, the whatever it might be, shells. Then it's there's no skim on that, right? It's just boom, right to the participant user, which and it requires a lot of bodies, a lot of help.
Well, the funding, you need sponsors. We could have Krause trucking singles. Never.
Yeah.
Hey, it would definitely be the singles for sure. Based on the way you've been banging them things this year, you probably run them too. I'll give you that. You win your own trophy in your own event, as you should.
Yeah, folks, I'm taking my added money back with me.
Yeah, you were a pain in the butt too. At the Heartland Grand, you were dinging them singles every day. I ran them the first day, and I ran them the second day, and by the time the third day, I see this Krause run them again. And then by the end of the week, I was just tired. He's just wear everybody out. Just hit all the damn singles, won all the trophies. So, you were on quite a little run there from the clay target. So I want to circle back before we get into the clay target, and I want to talk a little bit about your major transitions, because I'm looking at your averages here, and it looks like you've kind of always hovered around, 96, 95, 97, even some years a little less, but kind of that average range double A shooter, if you will.
Yep.
And then these last 3 years, you went 98.78, then you went 99.14 and 99.29. What were the major things that you did differently in the last 3 seasons that you haven't done your whole life, and why did it all of a sudden just click?
Well, the first major change was in his 19 or 20 is when I bought my Krieghoff. Bought a K80 trap special. That helped a bunch. After that, a lot of practice in the wintertime. I used to be a really, really quick single shooter and almost trap targets. And when you got a really nice target, it worked pretty well. And when you didn't, it didn't work. So I knew I had to fix that. So I slowed down tremendously compared to what I used to be and became a lot more deliberate. And that helped tremendously. And then it was 3 years ago at the Grand now, I went and got fitted for a Winnig. And that was a complete game changer. Until then, I'd never broken 99 in the handicaps, and I got my stock fitted and went out with the pattern, and within 3 or 4 days, I broke a 99 in the caps. So that was 22. What's that?
That was in 2022, Jason?
22. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So that.
Yeah, because your handicap average shot from 87.15 that year.
Yep.
All the way
91.
to 91, and then the next year went into 93. So, you picked up 4 birds in 1 year in handicap average, and then picked up another 2 the following year. So, there was some significant, you don't always see significant jumps. And when we did the Keith Ditto episode, there was 1 year his singles average went from 93 to 99. There was this just significant jump.
Yep.
And I always want to pick into knowing, what are those little tweaks? Because I think there's people that listen to the show and, they're afraid to change things or adjust things. And, you were a great shooter in the average scheme of things, and then you became, really, 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 really good within the time of 1 year.
Yeah. Well, I think you said it there, a lot of people are afraid to change things. They get complacent, and their mindset becomes, well, it's not horrible, and I don't want to change anything and make it worse. So they just leave it as is, and they don't know what could happen. And here in the past couple of years, like I said, we've done a lot of practice and a lot of, not so much adjusting, but you adjust a little, and then you shoot a while at it. And then you adjust a little more and shoot a while at it. And I learned, once you think you got it right, keep going a little more and adjust a little more till it starts to go the other way. And then you know where you've found where the limit is. Because if it continually rises and it doesn't decline, you don't know if you're at the limit yet and where you really need to be. So I always recommend, adjust and adjust and adjust until it goes the wrong way, and then go back to where it was the best at, and then leave it there and leave it there for a while. A lot of people get into, well, I've got an adjustable comb or adjustable rib, or so that's all they want to do is adjust on everything all the time. And I think they're chasing their tail a lot. They don't give it a good enough chance. You guys know as well as I do, you can have the perfect setup and be completely confident. You can walk out there and break a bad score, whether it's the weather, whether it's the targets, whether you just had a bad day and weren't focused enough. That doesn't mean that your setup is wrong or that your delivery was wrong. It just had a bad day. And instead of walking off the line right away and going, well, I got to change something because this isn't working, go back, take a deep breath, try it again. And if it still goes wrong and it continues to go wrong, then you may have to go do something. But until then, I don't like to change things until I know that that's what it is. And it's not just me not focusing or having a bad day, or like I said, maybe the wind was blowing a little bit and I wasn't reading the targets right, or they a little faster, a little slower, whatnot, and I just didn't pick up on it. And that's nothing you're going to adjust yourself in or out of, I don't believe.
No, and I think that was huge, because you talked about your training, and you said at the beginning of the training you were adjusting to find the sweet spot and then going past that. And we've talked a lot about adjusting to the smoke ball. I don't think I've ever heard it described the way that you said it, Jason, and I like that because Benias, and for those of you that I've seen all the posts on the online, he's passed away. And he was a friend of mine, and I know Rick too. And I don't know if you did you ever get a chance to meet him, Jason? Or
I
no?
never did. I didn't meet him. I knew who he was, obviously, but no, I never got to meet the man.
One of the greatest of all times.
For sure. And what Benias always used to tell me, I always used to ask him is, what's so important? And he'd always say, well, I use the whole pattern. And what he meant by that was, a lot of people, if you think about it, if you have a 30-inch pattern and you're putting that into the clay and you're coming from the bottom like most people do, a lot of people are breaking that target with the first 10 or 15 or 20% of the top of the pattern. And that whole 60 or 70% of that pattern is left beneath the clay below. And Benias, I said, well, what made you so good? And he said, well, I use my whole pattern. When I drop a shot on something, I want to break that target, the frontage of that target, with the bottom 20% of my pattern so that it runs through it like a meat grinder, like it's running through that area. And I think a lot of the times people adjust their gun till they get that first smoke ball and they stop. But they could probably keep going up and still getting that smoke ball to a point till they're actually shooting like over the top of it. And I think that was a really articulate way that you just described that. So I appreciate that. And then going into not making changes once you find that spot, like not just giving up instantly when you have a bad day, because so many people go to the wrenches or go to the whatever it might be when they see a bad round or a bad performance, and you stick through that. So a follow-up question on that: how do you get back up after a bad day? What are the things that you do to not grab the wrenches and to not throw in the towel when you've had one of those oh crap days where I'm like, you're thinking about it and you're wondering why was it so bad?
He lets his squad mates talk him off the ledge.
Pretty much, yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say.
A Coors Light for Krause, he'll fix anything.
Exactly. Yep. Go back to the camper, sit in the chair, and reflect.
A lot of reflecting, 8 to 12 ounce reflections.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
So and I think so the moral of that story is have good friends. Is that the thing? Just guys that hey, it's okay, come on, that kind of thing.
Yep. You got to have encouragement. You got to have people that'll basically take your mind off of it. If you sit there and stew on it and try to think about it all night about how the day didn't go well, the next day probably isn't going well either. So you got to go do something else, get your mind off of it, and just reset.
I will recommend one thing, folks, for out there, if you shoot with Krause, is do not try to stay up with him late at night and partake in that deal. Because my squad mates one night at the Grand American, Krause and Mr. Mike Jackson, proceeded to outlast me by hours. And when I saw him in the morning, I said, "Whoa, boys, your eyes look a little bloodshot."
It was a late evening.
But as you know, we have fun. That's one of the things, and that's and I was fortunate. We had a great squad this year. Krause broke 100 in the Krause broke 100 in the handicap, the first handicap, when I missed my last target right in front of him.
Yeah.
So he had 4 targets to think about. What the heck, And then you proceeded, in the clay target to hammer him. And so we did as a squad had a great grand,
We did. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, unlike Zach's squad.
Nah, we do the best we can. We're just holding it together.
Yeah.
We're just barely hanging on to it. But yeah, I want to know a little more of your technical stuff about your setup, Jason. You set a Craig off. Obviously, you said the Winnick stock, that made a big difference. But as far as actual point of impact and as far as chokes and shells and things that you're using now, what do you use as far as your physical setup on equipment?
I've got the K80 Trap Special. I shoot, it's about 100% high, 90-10 to 100 right in there. Singles and first shot of doubles use a Remington Light 8. I was shooting a nitro on the second shot of doubles. I have since switched and went back to a light 8 on the second shot as well, but used the nitro on the handicap. Shoot a full choke on the 16s and a full choke on the 27. I was shooting a improved and a full on the doubles, and I've since lightened that up to a modified and improved. I know Rick tried talking me into that quite a while ago. I'll be honest, I don't know if I've noticed a huge difference in the brakes. Definitely not any worse. So
Yeah, thank goodness.
I don't see any reason to switch back, I guess. But I hold a high gun, probably 1.5 feet or so off the house on singles, depending on the height of the target. About half that for handicap, and I usually start somewhere in between there for doubles, depending on the height of the target.
All right, folks, we got to take a real quick break and acknowledge the official target of the ATA, White Flyer. They've been sponsoring us since the beginning, and they make a great target. What do you think, Rick?
It's the best target in the ATA. Shout out to everybody there, all the reps, Bill Daniels, Josh Taylor, Nick Arnold, Robert Crow, everything they do for the sport and all the shoots. Really appreciate it.
They're always there. They're always trying to make a better target, and they're always supporting the game that we love so much. With that being said,
Let's get back to the show.
hey, Trop Talk listeners, let's take a quick second to thank a couple more amazing sponsors. SOS Clays Shoot Management. They're doing a fantastic job. I love the app. I love being able to see everything on my phone instantaneously. It's freaking awesome. Rick, what do you think?
Yeah, Greg Pink and his group over there. I mean, they've got majority of the satellite grands, majority of the state shoots. I think it's 40 plus state shoots they're doing. But the app, honestly, we were doing a little beta testing with that at the Spring Grand. It's awesome. You can see your squad if they paid. You can see your options, your payouts. The whole works at your fingertips. Great deal. They're just
Ricky knew how much money he made before he even got off the line. He was like, hey, I'm buying lunch. I'm like, yeah, good job. We're good to go.
That's
we
right.
also got gun and trophy insurance. I mean, they're the best in the business. I know they're great price. Ricky, you're familiar with them, right?
Yeah, Cole and Larry Cushman been long-time supporters of myself, and I've been a supporter of them, and, especially with my college team. We require insurance. It's so fast and easy to sign up and get your insurance in literally 10 minutes. You can have your guns insured, and they're just great. They're great to deal with. Like I said, you can do your trophies also, your wildlife animals and that such, and your guns. It's just a great
It's always good when you're traveling around to have that peace of mind and know that you don't have to worry about losing your stuff forever. And these are expensive things, especially when you got those Krausse. You got to keep them insured. So,
exactly.
With that being said,
let's get back to the show.
All right, Trap Talk listeners, we got to take a quick break, and we got to welcome a new sponsor to the show, RGS Bore Stripper. It's a great product. Ricky, tell them how they can find it.
Go to their website, rgsguncleaner.com. You can get the 1 8-ounce bottle, free shipping, 2 8-ounce bottle, and you get the 2-ounce travel bottle, and it's free shipping also. Or just get the little 2-ounce bottle for travel.
Yeah, they sent me some of this product, and I used it on my Krausse choke tubes the other day, and it got the plastic out like in a minute, and it was super cool and super good. So if you like cleaning your gun, you like eliminating plastic, and you like shiny bores, give them a try for sure. Thank you so much for supporting the show.
Yeah, we'd really like to thank John Weber, the owner, for the support. He's doing an awesome job.
Yeah, we really want to thank John. We appreciate the support of the show. Anybody that supports Trap Talk, you guys need to support them and get this stuff because it's awesome.
And with that, let's get back to the show.
So and I love to hear that you called yourself a high gun hold shooter, and there's people like Rich Bullard walking around that are holding 62 feet above the trap house.
Yeah,
but
it's nothing like that.
Relevant though, Zach. You got to realize though, Krause's only 4'11" and Rich is 6'11". So
Jesus.
Yeah.
But Krause's
we gotta edit that out. We can't do that to him.
Oh yeah, we can.
No.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No.
Why stop now?
No.
That's right.
We're
Hey,
protecting on this.
Krause's got thick skin.
No,
Unlike you, Zach.
We
It's
got to
okay.
protect that. But what I do want to say about the hold points is for you, 1.5 to 2 feet above. Are you shifting that in singles, in handicap, in doubles? Like, is it shifting depending on the height of the targets that day, or do you pretty much say, hey, I'm going to hold right here, and whatever the targets are doing, I'm staying constant?
No, it depends on the height of the target. I never hold clear down on the house. Even if the targets are low, I've got to be a little bit above. But obviously, you never want to let that target stay below your barrel the entire time. You always want it to rise above there. So I like to gauge it so where I'm starting is about 2/3 of the flight of the target, of the height. That way, and then I hold still till it clears the barrel, and then it's not really much of an upward movement as more of a push and lateral left and right. I don't have a lot of upwards movement. I have tried holding down on the house and tracking the target, and I see the streak so fast that when I hold clear down on the house, I panic because it looks like it's getting away from me. And I seem to have a lot better luck if I hold a high gun and basically let that target burn off. I still see the streak right away with my left eye coming under the barrel. But then as long as I do my job and hold still long enough, that target slows down and becomes clear right as I want to track it and shoot. And it seems to slow everything down for me.
So holding up at a point to where you can allow that target to burn off and get into your eye zone before you start to make an approach, and then everything is pushing, not it's a shoulder press. You're just pressing into the target and more left and right to finish than you are running the gun up with gun speed like more me and Rick style.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
less gun movement in general, right? I mean, you don't
Absolutely.
have a lot. I mean, would you say when you're moving the gun, 1 to 3 inches? I mean, depending on where the target is. I mean, it's not a
Depending on
lot.
where the target is, yeah, it's not much more than that. No, as like I said, as long as the target is steady and taking a straight flight, obviously when they're jumping around and things like that, it's a lot different. But no, on a normal target, there's very little upwards movement. It's almost all lateral. So straightaways and quarter angles, there's very little barrel movement on the end.
So are you looking under your barrel?
Yes.
Or are you just kind of looking around the barrel?
Kind of more under, actually. My left eye is what picks up the target. So my right eye is soft focused out, kind of where I want to start to see it clear to follow it. And the left eye is what picks up the streak coming out of the house so I can get my direction. And then from there, once they both pick it up, it becomes clear. And then it's not far after that before I am wanting to shoot. So
doubles, are you trapping that first target then, or are you shooting it just like you shoot singles where you're allowing it to break the crest of your gun and making a move? Like, what's that situation? Maybe not right or wrong, but what is it?
It's not supposed to be a trap, but it ends up being that quite a bit. What I'm trying to do is move just ever so slightly up. I don't want to get the gun going up or to the right if you're shooting it right, left, or up and to the left very far. I don't want to end up having to get it going, stop it, and get it going the other way. I'd rather just a very slight push forward or up and then get to going either left or right to get to that second bird. Otherwise, I feel like I have way too much gun movement, and I feel like I can't get swung to that second target. So I don't want to move much on the first. Again, it's not supposed to be a trap, but it does tend to be. If the targets are right where they're supposed to be, then it's way more.
They hold the line, and
If
Krause
they're
is
right
going.
there, hey,
Wow.
if they're right there, he's whacking 100. If they ain't,
Yeah, then
Krause tends to miss some first targets.
I
and
miss
he's like,
way more.
what the hell?
I miss way more first targets than I do second targets, and they're towards the end of the Grand and the Heartland. It got way better. I talked to Sean Hawley there at the Iowa State shoot for a little bit, and my call on doubles was changing. It was much shorter and quick, and that he kind of let me know that's what was making me want to shoot so quick at that first one. I'm trying to draw my call out a little longer, especially on doubles, to try and hold myself off from basically pulling the trigger right away on that first shot.
Yeah, and that happens.
That's really insightful that you've thought about it this much, and you've spent time recognizing the strengths and the weaknesses in your game where you can still even try to improve it. Because obviously we're having some fun and we're joshing on the show, but Jason's doubles are not bad. They're very good. He's a very good double shooter.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
I mean,
No.
it's not like we're talking like in a way that, you don't break hundreds of doubles. You do. But to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, this is what I'm doing, but this is what I want to be doing.
Yeah.
And I think there's so many people that will not look themselves in the mirror and say, well, this is what I'm doing, this is what I want to do. They'll just say, oh, this is what I do and I like it, and it's fine. And it even if it's wrong, right? I mean, ultimately, I think it goes back to that thing that you brought up at the beginning. People are afraid of changing. Like they're afraid they don't want to go down to go up. And a lot of times when you have to make these adjustments, there's going to be some down before it goes up. Not every move and not everything is an immediate success.
You got to really look at it in every shooter out there, no matter who you are. If you're not trying to improve all the time, then you just get kind of lulled into just the everyday routine. I mean, like I just got back from this clinic, and I always tell everybody, you got to have a regimen, whether it be practice regimen, you're shooting, keep keep track of all your events, everything, and in a journal, and you can revert back to stuff. But in all reality, every time I go out and shoot, I'm trying to improve, and not, mess around and we have fun. I mean, and Jason, you and I shoot together, Zach and I shoot together and stuff. But we have a good time. But when it's our shot, we're really trying to shoot and break targets.
Absolutely. And so Jason, this year, would you say this is the most you've ever shot in a target year as far as weeks consecutively, or has there been more?
Consecutively, yes. Total target count, I actually shot more last year than I did this year. I come down a couple of shoots. I didn't go to Tucson and in the fall and the spring, and I didn't go to the Southwest this year that I had went to before. So target count went down. I did try and cram more in consecutively. And like we talked the other day, I went 6 straight weeks to start the season. And it goes one of two ways. It can either be really good and you can get on a really good roll, or you can get burnt out and you can start doing things you're not supposed to. And around week 4 or 5, that kind of started to happen to me. Just got to where I was almost burnt out. Not that I didn't want to shoot, just wasn't near as hungry as I was the first 2 weeks. And this next year, I'm going to try that a little different. Do 2, maybe 3 weeks tops in a row, and then take a break and get away from it a little bit, and then try and come back. When you can step away for 4 or 5 days, then you're eager to go to the next shoot. By the time you hit week 5 or 6, at least for me, you leave that shoot on Sunday, you drive on Monday, and by the time you get there Monday night to set up, it's like, oh man, here we go again.
All over again. Another 7 days. Another this.
And
for you,
I enjoy it a lot, but it can be a grind. And
it sounds like a grind, and it sounds like, if I'm hearing you correctly, having that hunger and drive is almost even more important than shooting a lot. I mean, because you can almost shoot yourself out if you go too much and you don't take that second to want it, right? I mean, it was your want and your drive that pushed you to winning more than your ability, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. Desire, I think, plays a big role in this sport. It goes hand in hand with your mindset. We all know this is a 90% mental game and a 10% physical. And if your mind gets drained, or you're not thinking the right way, or you're not wanting to do just that day, you're not going to perform as well as the guy standing next to you or the guy on the next trap. And I've actually heard that from a lot of people over the years. I tried to ask a lot of questions, and Scott Jens, a good friend of mine, told me years ago at the Nebraska State shoot I was struggling with singles and especially 200 bird events, and kind of picked his brain a little bit. And he said, well, the first thing you got to remember, he said, if you're going to do this and you're going to stand out there, when you walk up the line, that has to be the most important thing in the world right then. There can't be anything else. And he said, if there is, he goes, and it doesn't mean you can't care about anything else, but if you're worried about the job or the kid or something going on at home, then you might as well put your gun back in the case and go home then and go deal with that, because it has to be 100% or you will get beat.
Yeah, You are absolutely correct about that, Jason. I tell everybody when you walk out on that, past that sidewalk, in between the sidewalk and the 27, everything has to stay back as you go and shoot, and it don't matter what it is. And if you can do that, your shooting will become more consistent. But you gotta have that ability, and it's like you reverting back to what you're saying about shooting 5 or 6 straight weeks. Yeah, that's a grind. I mean, I've done it, I think once or twice a long time ago. I like the 3 weeks at most, or even 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and 3 weeks. What I always say is, like Vegas and then the Tucson, the pre and the main, but I don't shoot the pre usually. That's when you just hang out, maybe shoot an event or two, and and such. But yeah, it is kind of it can burn you out big time.
Oh yeah, for sure it can, and I think that people need to pay attention to that, because if they're not there and they're not present and they're not hungry for it, well then, stay at home, right? You gotta have that. You gotta have that drive, and I can tell you, Jason, I respect you, and you are a competitor. I've never seen you not want to win. I mean, and I think that's a valuable, important thing to have nowadays. Is when you go out there, you expect to win, you want to win, you're trying to win. You're not going out there just to have fun with it. You're going out there to see really how good you can do.
Yeah. Exactly. I've been that way my whole life. I'm probably competitive to a fault.
It's that Nebraska competitive edge, right? Those guys just like doing stuff, I guess. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and now let's get into your clay target win. So, was this your first 200 in the clay target, or was it your second?
It was my second. Yeah.
Second,
I broke one in 16. I broke them, and then I ended up missing the first target out in the shoot off that.
And the shoot off, you're like, well,
Yep.
I made the shoot off, and that it's it's one of the best shoot offs to try to be in, but it's also the hardest one to win. But as I mean, you won it, so you understand that. So take us back. So of course we were shooting together, and I think you broke the only 200 on the squad that day, if I remember right.
Yep.
And so you broke the deuce, so we were ready for shoot offs, and you guys you went 200 the first night.
Yep.
And then how many did it take the second night? 100?
100. Yep.
Okay, and who was it down to the second night?
Pat Lamont, Cody I, Brandon Deal, and Scott Obachain, and myself.
So some bangers.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that's the right in the center slot of single shooters in this country. That's some salty 16-yard bangers for sure.
Yeah, Cody was on a 500 squad, I know, this year, in Kansas and such. And Scott Oberchain, Mr. Singles,
Exactly.
And of
He
course
pounds
Brandon Deal. I mean,
was hammering.
Brandon's been banging 200s forever, and then of course Lamont winning championship after championship. So who was it
What's he got,
down
11
to?
rings or something?
12.
12. There we go. Yeah.
Who was it down to in the last round?
Me and Brandon Deal.
Okay. How
Yep.
was that? What were you think? What was your mindset? So let's take it back. What was your mindset after you finished the 200? Because I remember seeing you that night. We were having a good time, and I tell everybody, shoot the 200. Personally, me, I wish they'd just continued the thing and just run it out. But get done. Okay, have a few. I know you wanted to have a few beers. So, and then how was your mindset at the end of that when you broke the 200 that night in the shoot-off?
More relieved, I guess, that I made it that far and was still in it. I was ready to take a break. I would have kept going, but it didn't hurt my feelings any that we quit after the 2. It made it a little harder the next day, having all day to think about it, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was fairly relieved that I'd made it that far, and thought, well, you get that part of it done, and yeah, there's way less people to contend with now, but they're also probably,
The best ones.
Exactly. So and
who missed first on the second day? Do you remember?
I believe Cody missed first, and then Pat. And
they missed
both
in the same round, didn't
on
they?
the first box, and Cody missed twice. I just can't.
Okay.
I can't remember if Cody missed first and then Pat, or if Pat missed first and then Cody missed the 2. So they went out on the first round, and then we went out on the second round, just me and Brandon and Scott, and we all ran that round. And then Scott missed on the third round, and Brandon missed on the fourth.
So when Brandon missed, where at did he miss at?
It was right in the middle, the 12th or 13th target, somewhere in there.
Okay, so in that time, so when it came down to just you and Brandon, what was in your head for our listeners there? What were you thinking about, honestly?
Well, I knew what him and Daggett had done 2 years before that, so
Yep.
that almost may have made it a touch easier because I had no intention of it being over that next round or even that evening.
Yep.
I was planning on if I'm going to win it, this is probably going to go to Saturday yet, and we'll have to decide it then. Was kind of my thoughts.
Okay.
It wasn't okay. Well, hey, we're getting close now, and this might end soon. I was prepared to, let's go find some more shells.
Yeah.
Type of thing, because I figured he was going to go for a lot longer than what we ended up doing.
So when he missed, did the pucker factor come in play?
Absolutely.
Did it run through your mind of, oh God, I could win the clay target?
So
And then
funny
did it
story.
exit your mind?
The day before, when we got done, I had found out that Barrett had broke his first 200. So I was running around trying to find him and ended up catching up to him and Dagan and Mike and Connor at Justin's camper. So we were all standing around talking and got to talking about the shoot-off, and because Dagan was in it and Barrett. And Connor asked Dagan, he says, so when it was just down to you and Brandon missed, he goes, was that easier or harder? And Dagan thought a little bit, and he goes, well, I think it made it just a little bit easier because he said, then I knew that even if I missed, I could still have a chance to win it. And so, I thought about that for a while, and when we went out to that fourth box and it was just me and him, that was in the back of my mind a little bit. And then when he finally missed, I found out Dagan was very wrong. It did not make it any easier for me. It made it way worse. Those were
I was going to say, it's
12 or
not
13,
easier.
hardest targets that I've ever shot.
All right, folks, we got to take another quick break and thank one of our show sponsors, 73 Pointers Ranch, Jonesburg, Missouri. Rick and Carla Burke, best place in the area to go shoot chuckers and pheasants and have a great time. Rick, we got to get you down there.
Yeah, I need to come in. Hopefully I can do some hunting with you guys and come to your the annual clay shoot in August right after the Grand.
It's a lot of fun. It's the Optimist Club charity shoot. They throw a charity shoot. They put it on, and it's wonderful. I think last year they had over 100 entries into it, and it's just a good time. With that being said,
let's get back to the show.
Well, I would think if you would have it in a perfect world in a clay target, you would love for the guy to miss late. But the earlier he misses in that round, the more time you have to think about it realistically. I mean, because I would think it would start to compound on itself because you're like, okay, maybe in the first 20 you get through them, and then you get to the last post and you're like, okay, these last 5, and now the nerves start to set in. But were you shaking? Were you having to remount your gun a few times to get the right spot? I mean, what were the going into those last few finishing shots? Were there any major things that you were like feeling?
Just trying to focus on my breathing and stay a little calm because I was starting to get jittery, and that's when you can start, moving the gun too fast, too slow, things like that. I knew I didn't want to start pointing at them and get careful. Yep. So honestly, if anything, I might have sped up just a touch as far as my procedure, just so I didn't think about it too much and didn't let it seep into
their roasting stuff.
They started smoke balling.
So trying to stay calm was the hardest part, and like I said, just trying to take some deep breaths, things like that. It actually went fairly quick from what you think it might be. You think it might take forever once that guy missed, even if you only had 5 or 6 shots left to go, and it actually went fairly quick for me.
Well, I think what you said there, leaning into it, had to help because I think a lot of people, the natural tendency is, oh, he missed. Let's be more careful. Let's point him out. Let's slow down. And I think when you slow down and you're amped up, I think when the adrenaline's pumping and then you start making more precise, the jerk of the gun, you start to go and kind of do that versus if you just like, okay, I'm just going to let the adrenaline do the job. And then you start moving that gun into the target. I mean, more times than not, and this is just me, I find myself behind targets, not in front. So if my adrenaline comes in and I just start driving into the bird, it doesn't seem to hurt as bad as if I start soft-handing everything and going real precise, because I'll blow right behind something by 3 or 4 feet.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think about that, Rick?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know, like Jason talked about what Dagan said, and I agree with Jason. It doesn't make it any easier. I've been in that clay target shoot-off quite a few times. I've been a runner-up, I think, 5 times. So, but I know one of my runner-ups, the year Dave Brulette won it in 75, I won runner-up, but in 275. I had to break another 200 straight, and the gentleman I was shooting off against, McAllister from Kansas, he missed like the second target out, and I was going to quit shooting after 100 that day because I had still had to shoot off for the doubles championship because they had to carry it over, and I was like, oh, and it did. It took me a little bit to,
hot minute.
Get into it, and I'm like, okay, keep your stuff right. Keep your stuff right. Don't, and it does, and that's why. And like when you were shooting that second day, Jason, we didn't get to watch because they were having the doubles championship, shoot off, and Tyler was shooting off for the junior world championship. So I was down there, but I was on the phone with Bubbles, and he's like, okay, it's down to Krause and Brandon. And I was like, okay. And then he's like, oh crap. He said a few other words, folks. I think Brandon missed. And I'm like, okay. And Tyler just got done. So then we walked all the way down, and you had won and stuff. And I was so happy for you and proud of you, not just as, a fellow Nebraskan, but a friend and a squad mate to see that. Because it is the toughest event, in my opinion, to win.
I think
is the
it
clay
is.
target.
I have to believe that just because the raw ability of everyone that can shoot singles. I mean,
Yes.
if you think of the amount of people that can shoot good singles, anybody and everybody pretty much that's a gamer can break 200 singles and do it. And, you get down to the doubles. Well, okay, not everyone shoots great doubles. Or you get to the handicap, anybody could have one good 100 birds that day and just win it with a loner, which no shoot-off required. Overalls and all-arounds, I think those would probably be up as 2 and 3 as far as hardest behind the clay target.
I mean, as for the overall's probably the hardest, but a single event, that clay target, just because when it's your day, it's your day.
Yeah.
And it was your day. And I mean, the sad part is I'm gonna have to listen to you and Dusty both as my squad mates for the grand of we're clay target winners.
We might not let you live that down for a while.
That's okay.
You
know what?
use that against him, Krause. Throw it on him.
You know what, Krause? Hey, Krause, you know what the cool thing is? There's 2 of us that have rings on this show.
That is just cold-blooded and uncalled for.
You knew it was coming, though.
I knew it was coming.
Now,
and
did you get your ring yet?
I have not yet. No, not yet.
All right.
I mean,
what did you get for the stone?
Oh, boy. Ruby, I believe. Whatever July is.
I think, Ruby.
For Jake.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's Ruby. Yep.
So, folks, for everybody that doesn't know Krause, a lot of times throughout the summer, his son Jake travels around with them and stuff in the camper and pesters all of us, and we have to play catch with him because Krause won't. But no, no, we do, folks. Jake, great little kid. Pretty soon he'll be shooting, hopefully, but the gun's a lot bigger than Jake. We got to get Jake's muscle tone built up.
Yeah, we get his size up a little bit, and then he'll be right after it. So,
but I know he was so proud of his father winning that. Just the smile on his face.
Oh, he was lit up like a Christmas tree.
He did. He had a great time. It was his first grand altogether, so he was pretty much in awe the entire time and running in and out of all the buildings. And I mean, you guys seen him several times.
He'd come in and he'd hang out, and I'm like, Jake, you need something? There's drinks in the back. Just stay out of the adult drinks.
Yep.
Do you want one? I'll bring you one.
He didn't even try. He was a good boy. But,
absolutely. He's not like Zach.
No, not like us. No. No. But Jason, before we get out of here, I do want to know is there any good advice that you would give to shooters that, were like yourself, that were, weekend warriors all the way to world champions?
Yeah.
What's the advice that carries you from just that, Saturday, Sunday gamer to someone that's got a ring?
Make it a priority. It doesn't have to be a job. That it turns into that, and it's going to go the other way. But it has to be a priority. It has to be something that you're going to sacrifice other things for to go do, and make the most of it. It's great to have fun, and that's what we should all be trying to do. But in that moment when you're standing out there on the line, it has to be the most important thing, and you really got to want it. So, practice the same way when you're out there. Practice as hard as you can, and make it a real world situation, and just do your best to try to beat yourself every time you're out there. You don't always have to beat the guy next to you, but if you can improve your score, improve your average, improve what you did the day before, the week before, then you're winning, and eventually the wins will come.
I love that.
That's good advice. Yeah,
that's great
absolutely.
advice. And I guess, is there anyone that you would like to thank as far as people, sponsors, friends, any of that stuff before we wrap up today?
Absolutely. Obviously, Remington, they've been sponsoring me now. Really proud of what they've done and appreciate the support. Like to thank Krause for their help during the Grand with the little gun malfunction. They were right there to help me get fixed up so I could continue. All of my friends and family, the family that helps do things around the house while I'm gone that I can't attend to, all my friends at the shoots that help with Jake and help with the camper and cooking food and things like that. It really is a big family, and I'm really appreciative of all those people that do what they do so I can stand out there and shoot.
That's absolutely correct.
Well, Jason, we really appreciate you giving your time. We know how much you're working, and raising your son is obviously a task also. So you're doing a lot of things, and you made time for us today. So we really appreciate that. I know the listeners appreciate learning from a wealth of knowledge like yourself, and I expect to have you on the show again with some more good news in the future. I'm sure you'll continue to win and be in the winner's circle, and hopefully have a few more of those rings, maybe with some different stones. In the future when we talk to you then. So thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. Remember, like, share, subscribe, comment, send your questions, wear your Trap Talk gear. Ricky's looking good in his hat today, as always.
Get your merch, folks.
Get your merch, and we're done with Las Vegas. Otherwise, I'd say see you in Vegas, because that's where we're headed right now. We're excited for it. So tune in next Friday, and thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
And the Trap Talk podcast is brought to you in part by
RM Shooting Clinics. Have Ricky take your game to the next level. If you want to shoot hundreds, give Ricky a call today. Zach Nannini Financial. We believe in putting people first.